Hey guys, my name is Georgia, and today we're talking about marriage. Does marriage validate you? I'd say yes, marriage validates you as a woman. And yes, marriage validates you as a man. It's just the way our society is. When you're married, you're viewed as being responsible and reliable. People can trust you. If you do business with people, for instance, and you're married, it's easier for them to trust you. And if you're not married, sometimes they're worried that you don't have that commitment in you. Okay, but it doesn't mean that if you're not married, people will not trust you. It just means that you have to work harder to prove yourself. And yeah, my videos tend to focus more on women than on men, simply because I'm a woman. And so obviously it's my experience, people around me, what I watch, how I feel. That's what I'm talking about. It doesn't mean I'm an expert in everything. No, no, no. It's just what I feel that I'm talking about. Okay, so why I'm saying this is that as a woman, it's tricky. When you get into 30, everyone's asking, have you got a husband? What's going on? And then it starts being tricky. You want to marry Mr. Right now instead of Mr. Right, things like that. But then the truth is, if you don't get married, it's still okay. But if you get married, it's easier. You have someone to share your problems with. You have someone to trust. You have someone to, yeah, mostly share your problems with and share your joy with as well. You might win the lottery. You have someone to share the money with, isn't it? So it's all good. It's all good being married. Now, I think the main thing is, even with men, for example, if you see politicians when they want to be, say, governors or commissioners, some of them quickly get married, just to look reliable before they go into the election. So it's not just about women. It's all about being accepted by the society. So if you're already in a marriage and you're considering giving up your marriage, just think about it. Is it worth giving up? If you give up your marriage, how are you going to feel as a person? Would you still feel complete? I know, yes, there are problems sometimes in a marriage that when you think about those problems, you can start to ask yourself those questions about if you should actually continue staying in that marriage. But then if you leave the marriage, do those problems go away? Were you happy? Were you a happy person before you got married? Are you usually happy? Because it's easy for people to blame another person for their unhappiness. But the truth really is, were you really a happy person? Are you a happy person? So if this person lives your life, does it mean that you're going to be happier? Are you going to start laughing at jokes you never used to laugh at? So I think it's quite tricky when you're already married. If you're already marriage is a commitment. It says for better, for worse. It says till death do us part. Marriage is just like, imagine like a land, except it's a desert. It's not even in a desert. It's not flat all the way. You have ups and downs. You have valleys. You have hills. You have different things going on the land. So you don't expect a marriage to just keep going as predicted, except it will be boring. So yeah, sometimes one partner can be really annoying, but is that enough reason to quit your marriage? I know, yeah, people say, does it mean it's only domestic violence that should allow me quit my marriage? Yeah, I think everything needs counseling sometimes. Sometimes you want to get someone else involved. I'd always say someone that the other partner respects. Could be, if it's your husband, it would be his dad, if he's still got a dad, because I know unfortunately most African men don't have a dad for some reason. The men tend to die younger. Don't know if that's a different topic anyway. But yeah, and I also hate it when women start complaining, about being treated badly. I think what I always say is, get yourself together, do something with your life, give yourself some self-worth. You don't need another person to give you that worthiness in your life. You can actually do something, no matter how small. It doesn't mean that you have to have an income. It could just be a way of, it could be sports, it could be joining a meeting, or it could be anything really. Just have something that you do that makes you happy. Your happiness shouldn't really depend on another person. And yeah, if you're thinking of quitting your marriage, really think about it. How's the society going to view you? Do you care? I know some people will be like, I don't care what people think of me. Then you might as well go about naked. You can go about dressed like a loony. At the end of the day, we do care what people think about us. We can't pretend we don't. So putting that in mind, it's best really to think really deep. I mean, think about the cost, the time, the investment in the marriage before you decide to leave. But then there's another part of, leaving a marriage. It might be that your husband's left you. So it's not always about you leaving the marriage. It's also possible that you were left. Doesn't mean that you're no more valid. Doesn't mean you're suddenly worthless. I don't think so. The good thing is, if your husband's left you, it means you've been married before. So you're not like unmarketable. It means someone saw you and married you. I would say, yeah, for women especially, yeah, I'm talking about women anyway. So it's always better to be married than unmarried. And if you've been married once, it's even better. And I mean, that way, no one will say no one ever wanted you. It just means that you did go into it, you were able to go into it, but it's just that it did not work. And also as a woman, that's as a woman, we have fertility issues as well that put pressure on us. But thank God, there's a modern technology that's really doing a lot for women now, and fertility in the far future will not be a problem. It would not be a reason why a woman would be under so much pressure to get married. But for now, and for those who can't afford fertility treatments and all those advanced fertility options, it might be a good idea to get married in your fertile years. Yeah, it might be a good idea. And if it doesn't work out, then you can walk out of it. But also, you can actually have a child even if you're not married. I mean, I'd say if you get to say 32, or I'll say in Africa, Nigeria especially if you're an Igbo woman, it's quite difficult saying to you if you get to 32, because you should start thinking of going it alone. When there's so many women who are getting married at, say, even 40 and still having their first babies. But then there's so many who go past 40, they don't get a husband, and then they don't have that baby, especially if they want a baby. So there are two types of women here. So if you're a woman who doesn't want a baby, then, you don't have to rush into a marriage. But if you want a baby, I think once you get to 32 and there's no husband, you should start thinking about doing it alone. And then by the time you're about 35 and you do get pregnant, and I think it might be a good idea to go ahead with that pregnancy and have that baby. I mean, a 35-year-old woman who's a single mom is quite different from, say, an 18-year-old girl who's a single mom. Because even if you're 40 or 45 and then you meet a man who wants to marry you, he won't be shocked that you have a baby. I think he will even be more shocked if you don't have one. So, yeah, I'll still say marriage validates you to some extent, but if you're not married, it just means you have to work harder to prove yourself. You know that some women, or even some men, they hide under marriage. So some people are not doing well in their lives, and then they just use having children or taking care of their husband or wife as a cover-up. And some men, some women would actually ride on the success of their partners. So, I mean, marriage is never ever a negative. It's always a positive. It's, even when one of the partners is, cheating, it's not always cheating about going with another woman. Sometimes it's cheating with your money, just using your money for business that doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It might be using your money to sponsor somebody else, Well then, yeah, you also have to consider, what am I losing, what am I gaining? If someone's cheating you with your money, then just keep your money tight. You don't have to let them have your money, You can't say you're walking away because he's cheating you with your money. No. Keep your money away from him and continue the marriage. There are lots of things to gain from the marriage still. Or if you feel that they've pushed all the responsibility to you, then share the responsibility. I'm going to have another video which is going to talk about sharing responsibility of taking care of children, and that video is going to talk mostly about also living your marriage. What I mean with about responsibility for taking care of the children is that some women are able to do well in their profession because their husband is actually taking care of the children, and in as much as they might say that those men are irresponsible, they're not bringing in money, but I'd say if your husband wasn't taking care of those children, you wouldn't be able to make that money in the first place. So imagine that you leave your baby or your child with a nanny and your child's not feeling well. You have to leave work to go and cater for the baby or the child. But if your husband's there, you can still do your work. Anyway, that's a video for another time, responsibility of taking care of the children. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks again, and it's your girl, Georgia. Bye. Put it off.